Thank you, Mike. I'm scrolling through and looking at everyone and trying to get a sense of the room. Appreciate all of you zooming in at this time, wherever that time is for you. I wanted to start off by talking about DNA. And DNA has been really important to me about a school's history, where it comes from, who the school really is. And DNA has been important to me as something that I've been looking at, uh, you know, new head of school here, but came from independent schools before this. But I've been on the California Association of Independent Schools board of standards. And so I look at every year, I look at a group of 20 schools going through the accreditation process. And I've always looked for schools with that DNA. And what I'm speaking about DNA is that essential quality about setting up an independent school that's really about the students, is about the relationships from the get-go. Not a school that's pivoting towards that at a particular point in time, but it's always been about it. And when I saw Dunn's profile the year before I applied, I was struck by it. Here's a school that's always been about the whole student. It was set up by a person who was an entrepreneur in many ways, a person that said, you know what, students can go out there and do it, not just talk about it. And the school's motto, the Tente Out Per Vice, has always been about that. Students really trying and not just talking about it. It's been a school that's always been inclusive. It's thought about learning strategies, making sure cognitive differences are considered. So it's always been a part of the school. And what's beautiful about that is that when you go out there and compare other schools, and you look at different schools, as you should be doing it, you're looking for schools that resonate with your experience. What kind of experience do you want to have? And Dunn's always been about building that relationship. And I was struck when I came on campus last year and I met the students, and I saw how kind they were to each other, what kind of community they had. And I saw the relationships that formed between teachers and students such that they were thriving on campus in spite of a pandemic. And so I get to see that every day now, and it puts a smile on my face. And I'm excited to welcome all of you to this day, and pay attention to DNA, pay attention to what the students say. And I hope it resonates with you like it resonated with me. Thank you.
Thank you, Cal. I appreciate that. So next, I wanted to introduce you all to our Associate Head of School, Jean Vachon. Jean, if you can introduce a little bit about Dunn's academic program, their approach to whole student education. Yeah, you're next.
All right, thank you, Mike. Thanks, Cal. And thank you all for being here, being part of this evening with us. So my name is Jean Vachon. I'm the Associate Head of School and the head of Dunn Upper School. This is year number 20 for me at Dunn. And so clearly, I am a fan and a lifer, and recently discovered that I'm one of the old guys now. So which is a role that I'm settling into quite well. My wife Vicky is the activities coordinator here, so she gets to plan all the fun stuff for the weekends and special events. And my son Oliver, who has spent his entire life living on the Dunn School campus, is a sophomore this year. So I have a lot of really wonderful perspectives, including the perspective of a Dunn School parent, which has been an amazing another experience for me. So I want to tell you a little bit about our academic program. I've been told I have 4 hours to make this presentation. I'm just kidding. Everyone knows that I often say more than I should. However, there's so much to say. I could talk to you for 4 hours. So I'm just going to hit on some of the highlights. I'm going to hit on I'm going to generalize a little bit, and then happy to take questions at the end of the presentation or offline if needed. So I think that Cal really mentioned what I think is the most important thing about our academic program, really all our programs, is that it is built on and its foundation is very much about relationship. I think that we often find in education that there's a sense of a kind of a transactional relationship. Where there's a give and a get, and I think that often gets in the way of real teaching and learning. And so we very much base everything that we do on forming those relationships. Because we're a boarding school, but not exclusively for our boarding school students, we have multifaceted relationships with our students. I have been When I was teaching English, I was the English teacher and the drama coach and a basketball coach and living in the dorm and taking trips on the weekend. And so I would see the same students in so many different contexts, and it really enhances everything that we do. And in particular, it enhances the ability to teach to the individual student. Like most independent schools, we have small classes, which is a luxury and a necessity for individualizing our education. But I think even with if we had bigger classes, it would be the relationships that would allow us to really see every student, see who they are, see what they need, and to understand ourselves and how we can best connect with them and approach their educational needs. Christina Weir is going to talk to you a little bit about our Learning Strategies program, but I think across our campus, one of the things that really is a hallmark for us is the neurodiversity that we have among our student body and our professional community. One of the things that is core to everything that we do is an understanding and really almost an instinct that everyone learns differently, and that in order to teach everyone, we have to teach differently. We have to explore different modalities. We have to come at things from different perspectives. And sometimes the teaching and learning doesn't happen right in the classroom either. Sometimes it extends out into the rest of campus or in any of the other contexts that we see our students in. Sorry, I'm checking my time. Okay, I got a minute. I'm happy to, as I said, talk to you more specifically about our graduation requirements, about our courses, about any of the things that I'm sure you have a zillion questions about. But I think really the most important thing to take away is the understanding of the connections that are the core of everything that we do. And everything else stems from that and grows from that. So I will hand it off back to Mike, and thank you very much, and happy to have your questions later.
Thank you so much, Gene. So next, I wanted to introduce everyone to Mike Chapman. Mike Chapman serves several roles on our campus, one being a history teacher, but he's also our director of our outdoor education program. So Mike, if you can talk to us a little bit about that program, I'd appreciate it.
Thanks, Mike, and hello all. My name is Mike Chapman. As Mike already said, we share the same first name. It makes it easy. And I am the director of outdoor education and a U.S. history teacher for the junior class here at Dunn. This is my first year at Dunn and in Los Olivos. This past summer, my family and I made the cross-country move from Washington, D.C., and we are incredibly grateful to be here. I have a wonderful wife and two young kids, 2 and 4 years old, with me here on campus. And trust me, they keep me quite busy. As director of the outdoor education program at Dunn, my job is to empower members of the Dunn School professional community to lead meaningful, transformative outdoor experiences with their students outside of the traditional classroom. So the way we go about accomplishing this and what separates us from many schools in the region is by organizing week-long outdoor education trips for each grade in both the fall and the spring, and inviting members of the faculty and staff to join the students on each trip. This allows us to utilize a building block approach with regards to outdoor education skills, in which we progress from the basics, such as base camping and day hikes, to more advanced skills such as overnight backpacking, rock climbing, expeditionary canoe trips, all while facilitating deeper connections between students and their teachers. Our overall program goals are as follows. First, students develop the confidence and desire to pursue outdoor recreation on a personal level. Second, students develop a sense of stewardship towards the natural world, which lasts well beyond the confines of their time at Dunn. And then third, students are able to apply and reflect on the Dunn core values in a practical, hands-on environment outside of the traditional classroom. This past season was really, really challenging for a variety of reasons. However, we were able to successfully send all 7 grades out on meaningful outdoor education trips to locations such as Big Sur, Morro Bay, Montana de Oro State Park, Channel Islands, Zion, Colorado River, Pinnacles, and Joshua Tree. And the highlight for me personally was on our junior class trip to Joshua Tree. After a long day of hiking, we crashed back at camp only to be awakened by a flash rainstorm an hour or two right before sunrise. And most of us were unable to fall back asleep after the commotion. And though we were exhausted and quite damp, we were all able to sit atop one of those beautiful ancient rocks while at that very same storm was off in the distance, just as the sun began to rise. And that same storm was flashing brightly way off in one of those classic desert sunrises. The orange and purple colors were off to our left, and this dark menacing storm with flashes of white was off to our right. And it was just every 20 seconds or so, there was this deep contrast, which was a very special moment with the group that I was with. So I say that and I share that just because outdoor ed, to me, it's not just about mileage. It's not just about overcoming physical and mental adversity. Sometimes it's about moments like this, small groups sitting in complete silence, watching a small yet profound act of Mother Nature, which can really make a trip special. So as you've heard already, I'll wrap this up. The Dunn School community educates whole students to their fullest potential in preparation for a life of learning and responsible leadership. That's the mission statement. I'm required to say it again. I just wanted to point out that outdoor ed is just one piece of this approach. It's an important one, and I look forward to answering any questions you have later in this forum. Thank you.
Awesome, Mike. Thank you. You made me want to be in Joshua Tree watching a sunrise right now. That was wonderful. So Jean mentioned her name earlier, Christina Weir. Christina Weir is our director of our Learning Strategies program, along with wearing many other hats, which you will often find in a boarding school setting. So Christina, can you tell us a little bit about your program?
Yeah, thank you, Mike. Thanks for that. Welcome, everybody. It's really great to have you here, and I thank you for taking the time to meet with us and be with us on this call. So again, my name is Christina Weir. I'm the director of Learning Strategies. My husband is Tim Weir, who's the athletic director, and we both head the boys' dorm called Knowles Dorm. Our youngest son is in the 9th grade here at Dunn, and our oldest son graduated for Dunn. So a little bit more about myself. Tim and I decided to move out to the West Coast from the East Coast. We were at a number of high-ranking boarding schools on the East Coast, and after 20 years of experience in those boarding schools, although we were happy, we were feeling like a lot of pieces were not being addressed in schools. Yes, the intellect was being addressed, but the whole person was not being addressed. And we fell in love with Dunn School, and we wanted to make this our home. And so we moved out to California from the East Coast and made our home here at Dunn, and we're really proud to be part of this community. So a little bit about the Learning Strategies program here. Being in the program right now, I can honestly say it's, I think, one of the best and most outstanding and long-standing programs on the West Coast. Its history is in about 50 years ago, 1973, an educator ahead of her time, Nancy Rome, noticed, and she was just an incredible educator, that neurodiversity helps a community, and that there were students who had incredible intellect and incredible capabilities, but they had a mild learning difference. And she reached out and said, we need to embrace these kids. And she created this program called the Learning Strategies program. So Cal speaks about this DNA, or the roots of Dunn itself, but since 20 years in its inception, Dunn has been that inclusive environment. We have embraced all people, all cognitive diversity, and I think the special thing about that is that it's just how this school functions, is that it is inclusive. Teachers come in with a mindset of all kids have strengths, all kids have gifts, and we are here to help grow that. So it's a very intentional program. A little bit about the nuts and bolts of the program. We have 7 total teachers in our program of Learning Strategies teachers. We have 1 teacher that takes care of our middle school. So we have a Learning Strategies program in our middle school. The program students meet with a Learning Strategies teacher 4 days a week for about an hour. And part of that program is we have two separate programs. We have a full Learning Strategies program where a student will meet one-on-one in their full academic schedule. So it's an integrated program. It's not something that's extra tagged on at the end of a day after a student is tired. It's built into their schedule. So we have one program where students will meet individually with a learning strategies teacher. And then we also have another program that's called executive group. And that's where a group of students would meet, a group of students meaning 2 to 5 students with one learning strategies teacher. And the focus there in that particular group is on developing executive functioning skills. We are looking for in our program excited, motivated, cognitively intellectual students who have a mild to moderate learning disability, such as dyslexia or dyscalculia, dysgraphia, ADHD, that sort of thing. But yeah, I would welcome any questions that you have about our program. We're really happy here. We love our students and they thrive at Dunn School and go on to do some pretty incredible things. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, Christina. That was wonderful. And then lastly, from the professional community, someone else who wears many hats, which I won't try and name them all because we'll be here all night. Tonight, I asked him to put on his athletic director hat and speak to us a little bit about after school sports and activities. Tim Weir, it's all yours.
Thank you, Mike. I'm going to try to keep this short. For once, I might be shorter than my wife. Usually I'm the long-winded one, but she gave the introduction, so I won't get too into that. As Christina said, we're very happy here at Dunn School. I'm thrilled to be the athletic director. I also work with our alumni. And as Christina said, run the boys dorm, Knowles dorm, 9th and 10th grade boys. At Dunn, we have a wide range of athletes, from first timers to college bound athletes. And at Dunn, everyone will get a chance to play and really to improve. We're a small school, so we need everybody to contribute. If it's not their first year, by junior or senior year, we really expect them to be able to help our teams if that's what they're choosing to do. That takes a little work. And so we work very intentionally with our coaches. Our coaches, many of them are here on campus. Some of them are off-campus coaches who know Dunn and have been in our system working with us for years. We push them to get to know the students and observe them. As Jean mentioned earlier, the whole child is what it's all about here at Dunn. And the more you know them, the more you'll understand them, then you'll be able to know their strengths and weaknesses, how hard to push them and how far to push them. We strongly believe in positive reinforcement, not negative reinforcement. We won't have coaches yelling and screaming at referees or kids or any of those kinds of things, no matter what the intensity is in the game. I just don't think there's a place for that. As I said, we're a small school, so many of our students will play multiple sports, 2 and 3 sports. And we are a very supportive school. Like we said, students come out to each other's games. They fill the stands in the gym, go out to watch soccer on the soccer field. Everybody attends the play. Last weekend, we had a wonderful production, 3 nights, musical performances in our schoolhouse. So our students really support each other and appreciate the efforts that the kids are giving, no matter what the success really is. Our international students play an important role with our athletic program. It's pretty interesting to see at the beginning of a season, especially when you get a sport like soccer, an international sport where the coaches really have to look at the style of play that everybody's bringing in and kind of adapt a UN team into a Dunn team. And we've been very successful in doing that. Our coaches are also great if you do want to continue on to the college process. We work with our college counselor, Liz Ting, who does a wonderful job. We have many coaches that have played in college, that have great relationships with college coaches. So if that's a goal of a student, we know how to handle that, and we can definitely push them to that level. And let me quickly go over what our offerings are here. During the fall season, so we have a fall, winter, and spring seasons. We are part of a Tri-County Athletic Association under the CIF, which is the California Interscholastic Federation Southern Section. So these sports, most of the competitive sports, are dictated by the CIF each season. In the fall, we offer boys and girls cross country, girls volleyball, both junior varsity and varsity, girls tennis, and we have an ultimate Frisbee team that, as we speak, is probably beating our faculty in their last game of the year. They usually play our faculty. For non-competitive offerings, we do a fall baseball program, strength and conditioning, a drama, and then we have an option for independent sports for those students who may compete at a high level and something Dunn does not offer, horseback riding, high-level dance programs, things like that. You can petition to opt out of a Dunn sport and being part of the independent sport. In the winter, the competitive sports are boys basketball boys and girls basketball and boys and girls soccer. Non-competitive offerings, we have pickleball, dance program, robotics, and again, that independent offering. In the spring, it's baseball, boys volleyball, boys tennis, boys and girls track and field. And we also offer for some non-competitive options, drama, strength and conditioning, fitness, and again, an independent option. So I look forward to taking questions from you. And if you don't get to them tonight, please feel free to reach out to me via email or get in touch with the admission office. I'm sure they can track me down and we can answer all your questions.
Thanks so much, Tim. So thank you to the professional community on the call, and we'll get to you guys on some of the Q&A. But next, the stars of the show. I would like to introduce you to the current students on the panel. We have Aaliyah, Paul, Amara, Ethan, and Peppy. Students, if you guys can please introduce yourselves, state your grade, where you're from, and then maybe touch on your favorite class and maybe a favorite moment or experience that you've had at Dunn School. And I'm sorry, Aaliyah, we'll start with you.
Okay. Hi, I'm Aaliyah. I'm from San Francisco. I'm a senior here at Dunn. My favorite class right now is probably my Studio Art 4 class. I've been in it since freshman year. So much fun. And probably my favorite moment or event that's happened here at Dunn is the OE program, the outdoor education program that Mr. Chapman talked about. This year I went to Santa Cruz and I went surfing and rock climbing, which was really fun. Never done that before. So it was a new experience for me, and turns out I don't really like surfing, but rock climbing was kind of fun. So yeah. On to Paul.
Hey guys, my name is Paul DeBoard. I am in 11th grade and I am from San Francisco. My favorite class is probably biology at the moment. Yeah, it's my favorite class. And my favorite moment is probably just like dorm gatherings. We always do some sort of event in the dorm, whether it be cook-offs or paintball or going to the beach or going out to dinner. Those are just always the most fun thing to do here.
Thanks, Paul. Next, we have Amara.
Hi, everyone. My name is Amara Murphy. I am a senior at Dunn. I'm from Santa Barbara, California, which is about a 30-minute drive from Dunn. So I'm right in its back. My favorite class is probably calculus, which comes as a surprise to me because I'm not typically a math person, but my math teacher, Mr. Haig, just makes class so exciting, and he really does an exceptional job. You know, when it comes to my favorite moment at Dunn, I'd have to say it's probably getting to have breakfast with the boarding students. I'm a day student, and to sort of echo the remarks made by Mr. Vachon, getting to eat breakfast or stay for dinner at school really provides this unique moment where you get to form these relationships with boarding students. And I think that's something that just makes Dunn such a unique environment and really, really adds to your experience as a student. And next we have Ethan.
Hi, I'm Ethan. I'm a junior. I am from Seattle, but I live in San Francisco. My favorite class right now is definitely the entrepreneurship class called Earwig Inc. My favorite moment at this school was actually pretty recently. The Earwig Inc. Cafe organized an event where we had a casino night in the Leadership Center, and it was just really nice to see because it was the first student-run event in that building, and it was really nice to see the class come to fruition and all of our hard work for the weeks before pay off in this really nice event. So yeah, on to Peppy.
Hi, my name's Peppy. I'm currently a senior and I am from Finland. And my favorite class right now would have to be my advanced English class, because I think that the discussions we have in that class are just so new and interesting, and everything. Every day is like so exciting to go back into that class. And then my favorite moment at Dunn, sorry about that, would definitely have to be the sports. Before this year, I'd never played a team sport before. And I tried out for the volleyball varsity team and I got on it surprisingly. And just all the games that we went to with my whole team, away games and everything, it was so fun and new. And then actually after a season ended, I got to play competitive tennis as well, which was crazy, but I had so much fun doing it. Back to you, Mr. McKee.
Yeah, thank you, Peppy. And I'm actually gonna open up the Q&A here. Just remind everyone, if there's any questions that you didn't pre-submit, feel free to put them in the chat section, and we'll try and get to as many as possible. I'm gonna send out a couple of questions here to the students, pre-submitted questions. I am going to keep it kick it over to Ethan. So Ethan, if you could unmute and answer this question that came through. Can you just describe a little bit of like what the typical day for a boarding student's like, from wake up to when you go to sleep? What's that schedule look like?
Yeah, so I usually wake up at around 7:30 in the morning. That gives me enough time to take a shower and get ready for school and get all my stuff together. Class starts at about 8:30, 8:40-ish, and we have 6 blocks during the day of classes and 1 block of assembly or clubs. It's a pretty flexible open period. And from there, we have sports until 5:30 and dinner served at 5:30 to 6:30, and 6:30 to 7:30 is really your block of free time. That's where I spend a lot of my time on stuff like my clothing brand and artwork and just personal creative free time. At 8 o'clock is the beginning of study hall. This is where I do all of my homework during the day. So it's 2 hours of quiet time in the dorm. Not a lot going on, just mainly people clocking out their homework. And at 10:30 is when people start to go to sleep, and that's the formal lights out for juniors. So some people like to take the time from 10 to 10:30 to take a shower, and they don't shower in the mornings, but I shower in the mornings. So yeah, the day is pretty eventful, and I feel like there's a nice balance between classes and responsibilities, as well as a nice big chunk of free time.
Thank you, Ethan. And I'm going to keep it on the boarding student side here, just for another question. Maybe Aaliyah and Peppy, you guys can talk a little bit about like, what's the boarding culture like? Like, what's dorm residential life like? Yeah, just talk a little bit about your experience being a boarding student.
I can go first, Peppy. So I've been a boarder here since my freshman year. And this year I'm RA, which is the residential assistant to the house head. Living in the dorm is so much fun. Loy, which is the girls' dorm, which has all 4 grades from freshman to senior. We put on dorm unity events. Like last night, we had one where we painted pumpkins, we watched Hocus Pocus, and we decorated cookies and had a cookie contest on whose cookie's the best. And we voted, and the winner got mugs and little, what was it, apple pie. We gave away apple pie too. I think living in the dorm was really fun for me. It's my last year, which is kind of sad, but going off to college and everything. But I don't know, I had fun. I love meeting the new kids from the international spots. Like Peppy's my roommate, and she's from Finland. So that's the first person I met from Finland, which is nice. But yeah, Peppy.
Yeah, and thank you, Lee. I think you failed to mention the dance party that followed the cookie decorating to Thriller that I walked in on, but that was quite the experience. Peppy, if you could touch a little bit on your boarding experience as well.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, that Thriller was something. But yeah, as Aaliyah said, I'm her roommate, and the boarding experience is something that I was honestly kind of scared for as an international student, because there's nothing like it where I'm from. But honestly, it turned out to be kind of that home away from home that I was missing at first. And my last year roommate was different, but me and her were pretty close, and it was just really nice to always have someone there, because I know that people can get homesick sometimes. And as Leah was talking about, the Loy dorm has all 4 grades. So it's really nice because you don't, during the day, you have your classes with your own classmates and maybe some under a lower classman, but mostly you don't associate with those people that much. And the dorm really gives a great opportunity to get to know those people even more. And I think that's just something really unique to Dunn. Yeah.
Great, thank you, Peppy. Christina Weir, I had a question come in for you. So you talked a little bit about our Learning Strategies program and how we support students who might have need support, whether it's executive functioning. But the question was, that's only a portion of the students, right? And can you talk a little bit about how many students take advantage of that program versus students who are more traditional learners?
Yeah, thanks, Mike. Thanks for that question. Yeah, so yes, it is a small portion of our school. It's about 20% of our student population that takes advantage of the Learning Strategies program.
Thank you. And then I'm going to go back to a student question here. Amara, this is a question for about being a day student on campus that came through the other day. The question specifically is, how are day students involved in the full student culture life at Dunn School?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think Dunn does a really great job because there are so many opportunities for boarding students and day students to sort of get together and connect with one another. During the school day, there is an option to get involved with something called Day Council, which I'm a part of. And we sort of plan different school activities like dances. I know we took part in planning a Halloween carnival that's going to be taking place tomorrow. So really just facilitating events that both day students and boarding students can enjoy. And to further that, Dunn does a very good job of allowing boarding students to leave campus safely, obviously, to spend time with day students who are friends. It's an open campus, so day students are allowed to come on, and as I've already mentioned, enjoy breakfast or dinner. We're allowed to come on during the weekends and spend time with our friends. So I think overall, there's not a lot of separation between day students and boarding students. It's definitely very combined and very integrated, which is something I appreciate.
Thanks, Amara. Jean, I think this question is best for you. It came through on the chat, and we have a couple international families on this call, so I just want to make sure it's addressed. The question was for like the longer holidays, what do international students typically do? What does the school help with, and what does that look like?
Sure. So we do close down the campus on those the holiday times, but typically our boarding students who are not heading home for those holidays and those breaks will usually spend the time with another Dunn School family. Sometimes that's another boarding student who lives closer. Sometimes that's a day student. And we find that those relationships form very quickly, and usually they take care of themselves. However, when that doesn't happen, then we try to facilitate that in some way. There are also some local concierge services that we trust and that we know and that we can refer families to. But I would say that almost all of the boarding students who don't go to their own home during those holidays will go to the home of another student at Dunn.
Thanks, Jean. Paul, if you can unmute, I'm going to aim this one at you first, and then maybe Ethan can jump in on it. The question comes up every tour that we give on campus too. What about weekends? What does that look like in your schedule, and what's a typical weekend look like?
Right. So Ethan mentioned before during the weekday that check-in was at 7:30, but on Friday and Saturday nights, check-in this year is at 10:30. So boarders and day students can also just hang out on campus and do whatever. And on Saturdays and Sundays, there are usually trips, whether it be to Buellton or Santa Barbara or the movies or the mall, or there are many trips offered. I enjoy going to Santa Barbara a lot. There's a lot of cool stores there. And yeah, so day students can hang out on campus. There are many activities offered. Friday nights, usually there's either like a pizza party, or there's always something in the leadership center for everyone that everyone's invited to. So yeah, that's a lot of fun. Ethan, do you want to add something?
Yes. So aside from all of the really nice events, students usually, there's a grocery store right across the street called Los Olivos Grocery. And so usually it's become kind of a tradition for every other Friday night. Me and a couple other guys, we go buy some steaks and we grill them on the patio and in front of the dorm. So that's always a lot of fun to have. On Sunday and Saturday, the morning check-in is 11 o'clock. So there's also a lot of time to sleep in, which is really nice. And I'd say that everybody has something to do on the weekends. I can't really say a time that there's ever been a slow weekend and somebody didn't have something to do already. So yeah, it's definitely something that we look forward to and we always take advantage of.
And I love this. I love to tell the story. Last year, one weekend, walking into Paul and Ethan's dorm, and there they were grilling up a steak on the stove, and someone was out picking rosemary because they were also making rosemary potatoes, and Top Chef who did it best, and had a competition and judging going on. That's one of my favorites. Aaliyah, you offered to answer this question, and it actually came through chat and was pre-submitted about kind of how accepting is the Dunn community, talking a little bit about affinity groups and things like that. Do you mind touching on that?
Yes, of course. As a Black student on campus, we have affinity spaces, which are spaces for marginalized groups on campus to kind of feel more, how do I say this? Kind of feel more involved with the community and seeing others like themselves. Like I am in the BSU, me and a couple other students and a faculty member, and we just kind of have conversations, and we meet almost once a week, and it's kind of just a time for you to go with someone who you identify with. And there's also other groups. So like I also identify with the mental health group. And so I can go to the mental health group and I go and talk to other people about mental health and how I feel. And there's also a body positivity group. We have many groups for people who identify with many things, and there's no like limit to which groups you can be in as well.
Thank you, Aaliyah. Mike Chapman, there's a pre-submitted question about outdoor education. What if I don't have any outdoor education experience? And I sign up to come to Dunn School, but I've never gone camping before or been in the wilderness. Can you just touch on what that's like for a student?
Yeah, first thing is you'll be in very good company, because I'd say that's about half of every grade. So I don't know what the actual statistic is. Just I say that to share that there are plenty of people with limited to no experience, and we are deliberately trying to build into the program this building block approach that I keep talking about, where we start with the basics in year one and then progress as we go. And then frankly, by the end of your time at Dunn, there will be opt-in choices where you can choose more challenging trips or you can choose less challenging trips based on your confidence, skill level, and comfort. So we deliberately try to set you up for success, and we acknowledge that everyone comes from different skill levels, and that's perfectly fine.
Thank you, Mike. Callian, there's a question here from Heather. It's a two-part question. Maybe you can touch on it. I'm curious about your 45% diversity statistic. Diversity means different things. Can you please explain what 45% refers to? You can imagine that families of color with the current social climate, trusting our child's well-being to others can feel risky. Can you tell me how you support students of color that are boarding?
So I'm going to answer this question, Heather, in a different type of way. And I'm going to answer it in a different type of way because Heather's asked me a question that I've gotten this question over the years in independent schools, sometimes about the numbers, programs, etc. But the heart of the question is, how is my child going to be taken care of given their identity and who they are in the world? And what I found with schools that have certain programs, be wary of schools that point to certain things. Oh, we have this and we have that, we have this. Well, that sometimes can be look over here, we're going to play a little shell game. I will tell you something that's really interesting about Dunn. Before Dunn ever had a conversation around DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion, before it ever had affinity spaces, it operated under and has been operated under a inclusion is not a special interest model, i.e. every single student is going to be seen and they're going to have an individualized experience where they're fully seen. And what's not in the narrative and something we should own is that this is not a very diverse area where the school is in. And a lot of the diversity that comes to the school comes from our large markets, largest market being the Bay Area, next market, LA, Colorado, Seattle, in that order. And that brings a lot of the domestic diversity. And then also we have diversity coming in, international diversity. And then if we think about a little bit within the local population, there's some diverse pockets as well, but we're building that diversity along the way. But each student is seen. And it's a magical thing. And I think part of it is the way we've constructed the student-teacher ratios, the way we've constructed classes. Our advisories are small. You go to these other schools, you're like, advisory is 10, 12 students. Students cannot be, and it's like once a week. So how are you really checking in with all these kids? And how are you seeing them, what they need, so on and so forth? So that's the second part of your question, Heather. In relationship to the numbers, I'm going to let the admissions really give you the details on that, right? Because I can't, they say 23.5% of statistics are made up on the spot. So I don't know the answer to the question, right? But I'm gonna let admissions answer that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I can touch on that. So that's something that we measure every year based on student input and feedback. And our marketing department puts that together. And I'm happy, Heather, to dive into that deeper with you offline if that's an area you want to explore even more. So let's see, Tim, a question about athletics that we'll hop over to. It is just overall, like, how competitive are the athletics at Dunn School? And, is it just for specialized players, or is it more a beginner program? Can you just touch on the philosophy of sports there?
Sure. I think we have certain programs that are definitely more competitive than others in terms of, you're looking at a soccer team that's winning the state championships year after year. That's something we take a great deal of pride in. But as I mentioned earlier, we also have a JV team with kids who have never played before, or maybe are coming out of a different, an ASO kind of situation, and we hope to improve them and get them better. If you're more on the top line and want to be pushed, as I said, not only do we have the great coaches to do that with the context, but there are also clubs in the area and teams that we can, you can participate in outside of the regular sports season. So for example, in winter, it's basketball and soccer. If that was a passion of yours, we would work with you to get you the ability to play, whether it be in the fall and the spring with a club team or an AAU team. So we do have a wide range, and we're happy about that. We want to keep it that way. We want to make sure everybody has a chance to play and to improve. That's our biggest thing.
Thanks, Tim. And Jean, this next one, I'm going to send your way. Student teacher ratio, class size, what do the classes feel like? What's the teaching philosophy in those classrooms? Is it lecture based? Is it collaborative? If you can talk on that a little bit, that'd be great.
Sure. So I'm actually not 100% sure on the statistic, but I believe that our average class size is 11. Is that right? Or it was 11.5.
I guess I could have just answered it. Yes, it average is 11, and it's a 6-to-1 teacher ratio. Maybe you can talk on the class format a little bit.
Right. So but the numbers are important because it really gives you that picture. Now, 11 is an average. For us, if a class section gets to 14, it's a very big class. And in fact, many of our classrooms are really built to hold a maximum of 14. And so what you get is a sort of a more intimate space for teaching and learning. You also get a space that really takes on the characteristics of the person who's teaching in there. Every teacher has their own classroom, and so that classroom really becomes their place, and the students step in there. And as soon as the students step in there, then it's a very collaborative space. It's a space that we share. And so you will occasionally find a teacher standing at the front of the room delivering a lecture, delivering a lesson, but more often you'll find the students working together. You'll find the teacher moving around the room, working with the students. You'll find the students, before COVID, we used to reluctantly go outside as a kind of a rare thing. Now there are teachers that are like, there are kids going outside all the time. Mike Chapman, I don't think it has, not necessarily because of his outdoor education bent, but I love walking out and seeing Mike sitting out in our assembly area with his students, watching them give presentations. And so what you get is every class, and of course every class is different, and every class has its own flavor. Even the same course, the different sections will have different differences between them depending on the students that are there and the dynamics that develop over time. But really each class is at its core, it's a conversation. It's a relationship among the students, between the teacher and the students. And lots of different versions of that, but that's really what they are.
Thank you, Jean. Christina Weir, a couple more questions came in about learning strategies. And any student welcome to hop in on this first part too. The first question is there any stigma attached to receiving support at Dunn School? You know, I think some schools typically, if you receive some sort of support, you're looked at differently or thought. So that's question number one. Number two is, are LS students who are in the LS program, are they assigned a learning specialist? And does that learning specialist typically follow them throughout their 4 years in high school?
Right. Okay. So thank you. Thanks for those questions. I think the best way to answer the stigma question is from the student's point of view. So I'm going to toss that over to them and then come back. In my opinion, there is no stigma, and that's one of the reasons I love Dunn is, and many students have commented to me that they've transitioned here expecting some stigma and have found that there is no stigma, and that's one of the things that they love. And they love that they can be open with their teachers and explain to their teachers what they're working with, that they have the support and communication from their learning strategies teacher with their classroom teachers, that everyone has their back and is working with them, and that it's not something that carries a stigma. But I'd love to hear from students what their opinions are, their experience. Who wants to take that one?
So I can very confidently say that there is zero stigma about it. I cannot remember a time where anybody ever felt bad about asking for help, and any time that it wasn't encouraged. It's very, very centric. If you don't understand something, there's no shame in it. All we care about is everybody being on the same page. So in the dorms, especially, every night somebody walks in my room, hey, can you help me with history homework? And I'm going to someone else's room, hey, can you help me with math homework? And it's just, we're all in it together. We don't need to worry about what you know and what you don't know. It's all about what you can know.
Great, thanks Ethan for that. Does anyone else want to comment about your experience with learning strategies or what you notice in our community?
I can. I'm an executive group, and I've been that since my freshman year. And there's, like Ethan said, absolutely no stigma to it at all. I think people are more kind of want to be in learning strategies. If they're not, they're like, oh, you get extra help kind of thing. I really don't think people are here that are like, oh, you're in that. Like, it's not looked down upon at all. It's a great system.
Great, thanks, Aaliyah. And then Mike, what was your second question? Can you run that by me?
Is a student in learning strategies assigned a learning specialist, and does that person stay with them for 4 years?
Yes, that's a great question. Okay, yes, and so they are assigned whatever year that they come. We look at a student's profile. I read through all the file. Hopefully I have an opportunity to meet with them and get a sense of who they are as a person, what their strengths are, what their passions are. And then I try to connect them with the best possible fit for a learning strategies person who I think is going to really, because I want to set everyone up for success. And then that would be not only their learning strategies teacher, but that person would also be their advisor. And so there's that double connection there for that particular student. And then that student would stay with that learning strategies teacher for all 4 years. And I have to say, being here, this is my 3rd year. I'm going on, 3 years having developed a 3-year relationship with my students, and they're also my advisees. It's a really unique and special relationship. I get to know so much about them, especially working one-on-one. And I just love that. In fact, one of my advisees today had this little smirk, and I said, something's up with you, what's going on? What do you want to share? Because I know that student so well. And he commented like, how did you know that? And then we shared a good bit of news. So it's a really special relationship that the learning strategies teacher gets to have, working with a student one-on-one for all 4 years. We also, because we get to know our students so well, we're able to communicate and advocate, support and work with classroom teachers who are also very open and supportive. we get to help support the classroom teachers in best practices or how to meet that particular student's need.
Thank you, Christina. And Amara, I'm going to put this one over to you. So we were actually just reflecting the other day that you transitioned into Dunn School a little bit late. You were a late applicant, and you didn't start in 9th grade. You came at a later grade. So the question for you that came through was, what is it like transitioning to Dunn School from another school, whether it's a big school or a small school or whatever it is, just what's that transition look like and feel like as a student?
Well, I transferred to Dunn from another very small private school in Santa Barbara called Laguna Blanca. And I would say that Dunn really made the transition pretty seamless. I was coming in, as you mentioned, Mr. McKee, as a late applicant. I believe the school year had not technically started, but orientation and such had begun, and it was COVID. So we were online, and that definitely added a layer of stress. Joining a new school your junior year, you're already worried because friendships and everything have developed, teacher relationships have developed. And I think I was definitely worried, but as soon as I was able to even just get online and meet my teachers and meet students, albeit it wasn't in person, my worries were eased. I think that Dunn is unique in the way that they do emphasize these relationships, and they are so involved, with the advisory program. They're really checking in with you and they're making sure that you're doing all right. Additionally, everyone from admissions was so kind, and you just really helped to facilitate that transition. So thank you guys. I don't know if I ever got to properly say thank you, but I appreciated that.
Thank you, Amara. That's great. Paul, did you want to hop in and talk on that as well?
Yeah, of course. So this is my second year done. I'm a junior. I transferred in as a sophomore from French American International School in San Francisco. And yeah, I can agree with Amara. The transfer was seamless because we have a program here called the Peerwig program. Aaliyah is actually my Peerwig, and what Peerwigs do is they guide you for the first few weeks. So they walk you to dinner, they walk you to your classes, they answer any questions that you might have. And also your advisors, and I'm also in the LS program. So you have so many people just there to help you out if you need it. Yeah, there's a lot of resources, and everybody in your dorm is also there to help you. So they make the transfer pretty seamless as well.
Thank you, Paul. I was trying to avoid the COVID question all night, but we're getting lots of private messages about our COVID protocols and all of that. So I guess, Jean, this should probably come from you as associate head. Just what does school look like this year in regards to COVID protocols? And yeah, if you can touch on that a little bit. And just keeping mind of time, we just have a couple minutes left here.
Thanks for reminding me about my time. COVID protocol. So we have an amazingly responsive Board of Health and Board of Education in Santa Barbara County. And while most of the time as an independent school, we operate separately from the county. During COVID, the people at the county have been invaluable in guiding us in our policy and in our practices and in being there to answer questions. So the general answer is that we follow the county guidelines. What that looks like this year is that we are wearing masks indoors. We are as everyone, all teachers in California, we have mandated vaccination for our employees or testing for those employees regular testing for those employees who are not able to be vaccinated. While we are not mandating vaccination for our students, we strongly encourage it. Now, we also have students that can't be vaccinated because of their age or other reasons. And so we also have regular testing available for those students right here on campus. In many ways, our campus is suited to dealing with contagions and a pandemic, in that we spend a great deal of time outdoors. All of our classrooms open to the outdoors, and so ventilating them is very easy. We have very little problem with having our students wear their masks and teachers wear their masks, and have found that we actually can communicate through them pretty well, because again, the relationships that underpin everything. So our COVID protocols, this year we have returned to something that feels much closer to normal operations, but it's still there. We're still aware. We still have a set of protocols in place to react to positive cases, to react to contact tracing, and all of those other things that we didn't know anything about a few years ago. But we've also been both lucky, and I think because of our mitigation efforts, have had very little exposure within our on-campus community, and even within the off-campus community around us.
Look at that timing, Gene. Well done. So this is coming upon the end of our open house here. I just wanted to reiterate how thankful we are that everyone on this call has joined us. Lots of familiar faces, some new faces. If you haven't already visited campus, just know we are doing in-person visits. We'd love to have you. If you anytime, please contact the admissions office. We can get that set up. Our application deadline is February 1st. That is also the financial aid deadline. If you have any questions about financial aid, we didn't touch on that tonight, but please reach out with any questions you have to either myself, Sarah, Britt, or Amanda in the admissions office. Last thing I would like to say is we will be doing a couple more of these, kind of more program specific, whether it's, outdoor education or academic, sports, things like that. So keep an eye out for future invites. We'd love for anyone to join us on those as well. But you guys were a wonderful audience. Thank you for attending. Enjoy the rest of your Thursday evening, and please be in touch with a member of admissions with any questions. Thank you guys. Have a good evening.